Hello everyone and thank you for tuning into Trade Chat. My name is Panzer and today we're going to be talking about everything that you need to know before the launch of Destiny 2 on PC. And you don't need to know anything going into this video. I got you covered. I hope that you find it helpful, and if you enjoy the video, please rate it thumbs up. Destiny 2 is an action shooter with RPG elements which will be launching for PC on October 24th. Destiny 2 will be exclusively available on PC through Blizzard's Battle.net launcher, making it the very first game to ever be in the client that isn't actually a Blizzard game. And before you ask, yes, that does mean it will be available to purchase with the World of Warcraft tokens. So theoretically, if you have enough gold, you can get Destiny 2 for PC for the low cost of free. Haha. In Destiny 2, your character is called a Guardian, and you can choose one of 3 classes for your Guardian: Titan, Warlock, or Hunter. Now, once you've actually selected a class, each of those classes has 3 subclasses which relate to the 3 energy types in Destiny: Solar, Void, and Arcane. While at its core, Destiny 2 is a shooting game, it does incorporate many RPG elements which we all know and love, like ultimates. But in this game, they're called supers. Supers are awesome. They tie into the core fantasy and theme of your class and subclass, and that's pretty much the most fun part about changing subclasses, is that every subclass has a different super that goes with their whole, shtick of what they do. For instance, I'm the type of hunter that likes to mess up the bad guys with my arcane magical staff. But there's also hunters who prefer to do their killing with golden guns, and hunters who like to non-lethally mock their foe with a good old arcane bow. Titans are the most armored class in Destiny 2. Their abilities allow them to throw down shield walls which protect them and their teammates. Titans are recognized by their plate gear, heavy damage, and a melee punch. Their 3 subclasses are Sentinel, Sunbreaker, and Striker. Sentinel's super is Sentinel Shield. This summons a personal shield of void light that you can use to protect yourself or attack enemies. Striker's super is called Fists of Havoc. Activate it to supercharge your Guardian, then reactivate it to slam the ground several times, or alternatively shoulder charge your enemies. Sunbreaker's super is Hammer of Soul. Activate it to hurl flaming hammer projectiles at enemies, dealing significant damage with each hit. Warlocks use a combination of magic and weaponry. Masters of arcane energies, Warlock's space magic gets more powerful as they level up. They're recognized by their long vestments, which resemble trench coats, their magical abilities, and their force push melee. Warlock's 3 subclasses are Voidwalker, Dawnblade, and Stormcaller. Dawnblade's super is Daybreak. This allows you to weave solar light into blades and smite your foes from the skies. Voidwalker's super is called Nova Bomb. This hurls an explosive bolt of void energy at your enemies, disintegrating those caught within the blast. Stormcaller's super is Storm Trance. While active, Storm Trance allows the Stormcaller to float across the battlefield, electrocuting and disintegrating foe after foe. Oh my god, I was really planning on playing a hunter, but Stormcaller sounds awesome! Hunters are an agile roguelike class in Destiny 2. Their playstyle is stealthy and quick, high risk, and high reward. They're recognized by their mix of cloth and armor gear, as well as hooded cloaks and a melee knife stab ability. Their 3 subclasses are Night Stalker, Gunslinger, and Arcstrider. Gunslinger's super is called Golden Gun. This summons a flaming pistol that disintegrates enemies with solar light and has serious McCree vibes. Arcstrider's super is an Arc Staff. You form a staff of pure arc energy and acrobatically take out your foes. Night Stalker's super is called Shadow Shot. This fires a non-lethal void anchor that slows affected enemies, causing them to take more damage and preventing them from using abilities. The class that you choose to play is totally up to you, and as far as subclasses goes, you'll unlock the abilities through quests as you're leveling up. Once you do unlock those subclass abilities, you'll be able to change them and swap them around whenever you like. This is sort of like an infinitely readjustable talent tree. I would definitely recommend trying out all 3 of the classes in Destiny before you really decide which Guardian is going to be your main, because they all have very different playstyles and they're a bunch of fun, and you never know which one you're just gonna like the best. As far as what I like to play in Destiny, I recently got to go out to Seattle and visit Bungie and played some of Destiny 2 before it was released, and the entire time I was there I played Hunter, and it was so incredibly fun. Her melee is so satisfying. It's like, it's amazing. The sound it makes is so great. And once you even get higher level on a hunter, you can chuck a knife at someone, and if there's anything more satisfying than stabbing someone at melee range, it's stabbing someone from across the room. That feels real good, man. Anyways, the story mode of Destiny 2 is going to be your primary focus while you're leveling up. While you're leveling, you will also be unlocking additional modes of gameplay that you'll be able to play right now or later on. If you do stumble across these other game modes and you want to give them a try, feel free to do so. That being said, don't feel obligated to do every single piece of side content because most players will hit level 20 just by doing the campaign. So do what's easy, do what's fun, do what's convenient, but don't go like way out of your way for anything. It's just not necessary. As far as the campaign goes, all of your main story mode quests will be marked with this banner on your map. Once you've passed the beginning portion of the game and you're out into the open world, content is fairly non-linear, so pretty much any decision that you make and any path you choose to take will eventually bring you to the same conclusion. You'll gain experience as you play Destiny 2 until you reach the level cap of 20. While you're leveling, you will unlock your subclass abilities and they'll become available for you to choose. Max level content begins at level 20, by which time you will have completely unlocked all of your subclass abilities. Outside of the actual campaign mode, other modes of content in Destiny 2 that you may experience include Lost Sectors are 1 to 3 player mini dungeons, and I feel like it's worth mentioning that when you're in a group of 2, 3, 4, however many players, that's called a fire team, and basically everything in Destiny is better with a fire team, so get yourself a fire team. Public events are exactly what they sound like. This is an event that's happening in the world that nearby players can join in on. It might be a boss or a horde of mobs or something else, but the coolest thing is that there's actually hard modes for public events, and these are very reminiscent from World of Warcraft players out there of how Ulduar hard modes work. So you have to meet these secret optional conditions in order to activate the hard modes, which I think is super cool. Then also in the world of public events, flashpoints are weekly milestones that you can complete to do public events, and you'll get additional rewards. Patrol missions are kind of like mini public events, but you only technically need one player to complete them. Then there's also adventure modes, which are like extended patrol missions. They can take up to 30 minutes, and they expand upon like the lore and story of Destiny 2. Strikes are missions that are made for 3 players with a bunch of mobs and then a boss at the end. And the coolest thing about strikes is that they're part of a playlist which will go on infinitely. So you can do 4 strikes, or you can do 5 strikes, or if you really want to, you could do 18,692 strikes. It's up to you. There are 4 different strikes that are currently available, but the playlist is random, so you could get any combination of them, or you could get the same one all 4 times in a row. And if that happens, you should probably buy a lottery ticket, because statistically, that's pretty unlikely. Nightfalls are more difficult versions of strikes that are on a weekly lockout, and these don't just make the bosses beefier, they actually add additional mechanics to strike combat, so proceed at your own risk. As a side note, you're going to hear people in Destiny 2 talk about levels that are above level 20, and when you hear this, they're not talking about player levels, they're talking about power levels. So player levels are determined by experience and cap out at 20. Power level, however, is determined by your gear and abilities and weapons and can go way above 20. So if you think about it in World of Warcraft terms, my shaman is level 110, but my item level is 929. Yes, I know there was probably a better time to tell you that, but you kind of needed to know it for the next part, and we're here now, and hey, it's my YouTube channel you're watching, not a trained professional, so deal with it. Raids are 6-player cooperative missions for max level guardians. They are challenging and complex and require you to have a very high power level, skill level, understanding of the game, and communication with your fire team. In Destiny 2, raids have 2 difficulties, normal and prestige. Normal is to get you familiarized with the bosses and the settings and the mechanics and kind of practice strategizing and communicating with your team, and prestige is much more difficult with additional mechanics, deadlier bosses, and harsher death penalties. You can only do prestige modes once you've beat that raid on normal. Also, don't be fooled, normal mode is not easy at all. Even normal mode raids are very challenging, requiring you to have a high power level, communication with your team, and a solid understanding of the game. Crucible is Destiny 2's PvP. It allows Guardians to face up 4v4 in 5 different game modes. Crucible is pretty challenging and requires you to have communication and teamwork and, again, a pretty solid understanding of the game. While power level advantages are disabled in PvP and everything scales, certain perks and abilities may still give you an advantage. From my personal experience, Destiny 2 PvP is incredibly unforgiving, so make sure you really understand all of your abilities and your guardians and the game before you just run in there and YOLO it and have deep regrets.
Five lives left. Been knocked out. Been knocked out. Been knocked out.
Guardians can carry 3 different weapons in Destiny 2, Kinetic, Energy, and Power. Kinetic and Energy actually feature all the same types of weapons, so if you wanted to carry around 2 rifles or 2 pistols, no one can really stop you from doing that, so just go on with your bad self. The difference in these weapons is the type of damage which they output. Energy weapons have different damages based on all of those energies that we keep talking about in Destiny 2, Void, Solar, and Arcane. These special energies will do additional damage versus enemies that are shielded or specially armored. Since kinetic weapons don't have a special energy type and just deal straight damage, it's best to use them in situations where you're just mowing down mobs or staggering out your enemies. Power weapons are all of the heavy artillery in Destiny 2, so you'll see things like snipers, shotguns, grenade launchers, and other slow but powerful killing machines. I think it's worth noting that while these weapons are the most fun to use, they also have the most scarce ammo in the game, so use them wisely. Loot is huge in Destiny 2, and you're going to pick it up for doing pretty much anything of value. When it comes to gear, make sure that you are equipping pieces that have the highest amount of light power on them, but with weapons, it's not so cut and dry. When it comes to weapons, you're going to want to pay attention to light to some extent, but it's also important to try out different weapons to see which suits your playstyle best and to see which you are best with, because it doesn't matter how good the weapon is if you're not good with the weapon. Not to mention, you'll want to keep an eye on your energy weapons so that you can adapt to enemies that have special shields or armor. Some of the better loot in Destiny comes from engrams, which are basically just loot boxes that can be earned by doing all sorts of stuff that are in-game. Engrams contain special loot that needs to be decrypted before you'll know what is actually inside of them. Decryption can be done at the farm, which is an area that you're introduced to pretty early on in the game. Bright engrams are cosmetic loot boxes which can be purchased for real money or earned once you're max level. The way that it works is every time that you earn enough experience to level up beyond level 20, you'll instead get a bright engram, so thanks Bungie. In addition to gear and weapons, engrams can also contain shaders. Shaders are like dyes for your gear and weapons, but keep in mind that they are consumed on use, so think about it before you use it because you don't want to waste it. Aside from the cosmetic changes, which you can make to your gear and weapons using shaders, you can also make meaningful power changes by using mods. Mods are basically like on-use enchants to specific pieces of gear or weapons. You can also infuse your purples and oranges with other purples and oranges to increase their power level all the way up to the cap of 305. Mods and infusions are definitely more max level type content, so don't put too much stock into worrying about them right now. Weapons and gear that you're not going to use anymore can be dismantled for Glimmer, which is the currency in Destiny 2. Now, a pro tip is that I would not dismantle anything that is purple or orange right immediately. I would just stick those in your bank for now because you may want to use those for infusing in the future. Now, there are going to be some purples that you're going to dismantle, but I would wait until you're higher level to make those determinations when you know a little more about the game. In addition to Glimmer, gear, and weapons, players will also be collecting coins as they're leveling up and playing the game. These coins can be turned into specific rep vendors, and once you've turned in so many coins, you'll be rewarded with an engram. This is a repeatable process. I think that's kind of everything that you need to know as a total noob going into Destiny 2 as far as gameplay, especially if you didn't play Destiny 1. But before I wrap up the video, I do want to give a little quick and dirty explanation of the lore. Full disclaimer, if you are a Destiny 2 lore buff, you may find the things that I'm about to say upsetting and offensive and possibly even painful in your soul, so I heartily encourage you to leave now while you still have the chance. So in the Destiny universe, there's basically this giant ball. It's like a spherical planet thing the size of a city that is powerful as all heck. And I am not exaggerating when I say that. This thing can control a magical power source called the Light and use it to literally bring dead people back to life. This being, this spherical planet thing, is called the Traveler, and the people that it brings back to life are called Guardians. That's right, people, you're a Guardian. You're basically a light magic space zombie. Oh yeah, and your best friend, he's a little robot guy that sort of looks like a Rubik's Cube that's all messed up, but that's okay because we love him anyways because he heals us and he revives us and he can scan things to tell us more about our environment. Okay, Google, can you help me like a ghost?
Have you ever heard the urban legend about the assistant that wouldn't help?
Okay, Google, can you resurrect me if I die?
Here's what I found. The first result is from Twitter.
Okay, Google, do you know you're not very helpful?
I'm trying my best.
Aww. So I think it goes without saying that your ghost is more helpful than Google Assistant. Back to the lore and story. Like every great video game, there are of course bad guys, and the ones in this situation want to use the Traveler's Light for their own evil purposes. They even go as far as to kidnap this dude called the Speaker, who they believe to be in communication with and representing the Traveler, to try to convince him to teach them how to control the Traveler's Light, and I guess we'll see how that goes for them. To say there's a lot of lore and story in Destiny is a huge understatement, so if you're interested in learning more about what happened in Destiny 1 before you play Destiny 2, I have a link in the info below to a movie-length video to catch you up on everything that you missed. So that's it, guys. That is everything that I think you need to know about Destiny 2 going into it as someone who maybe didn't even play Destiny 1. I am personally super excited for Destiny 2 on PC. I played a whole lot of Halo back in the day, and this reminds me a lot of Halo, but with RPG elements, and on PC, which I understand the first Halo was on PC, but I played a lot of Halo 3, and this just feels like Halo 3 meets an RPG, meets my computer, meets my Battle.net friends, and I'm so excited to play it. I also want to give a huge shout out, a huge thank you to Bungie for bringing me out to Seattle, letting me play their game and see their studios. I'm so excited, and I'm so thankful about that. So yeah, that's all the things. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumb up, leave me a comment in the comment section below, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I love you all. You're in my hearts. I'll see you soon. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.